Hello, I am Ellie Metzger, and I teach your child seventh grade life science. I've been teaching life science at Midlake since February 2004. Before I began teaching, I stayed home for several years to take care of my two children. Michaela is now 22 and is obtaining her master's degree in English at the University of Rochester. And my son Gavin is 19 now, and he's at the University at Buffalo. We lived outside of Naples, close to North Cohocton, and we're in the Naples area for 22 years before we moved to Clifton Springs just in 2019. And before moving to New York for my husband's job, he's now a retired math professor from Finger Lakes Community College. We lived in Pennsylvania for many years. I'm originally from State College, Pennsylvania, which I like to say is home of the Penn State Nittany Lions. I graduated from State College Area High School, which is just a few miles from Penn State University. I got my Bachelor of Science degree in biology and secondary education, which I earned at Lock Haven University of Pennsylvania. And then I also got my Master of Education degree there, and the master's is in teaching and learning. When I'm not teaching, I love spending time with my family. Well, I guess it's more of a struggle in the midst of a pandemic right now. Don't get to see my daughter very much. I love hiking, traveling again when we're not in the midst of a pandemic. And then I also like cooking and sports. I love sports as well, especially college football, especially Penn State. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background information that we like to give to parents on open house, so you know who's teaching your child. I'm going to talk a little bit about what your kids got the first day of school, where I gave them some information about Zoom etiquette. And basically the Zoom etiquette, a lot of the same things that I say for that apply to just being in the classroom, you know, when we return to the classroom. So let me just briefly go over that. You know, I'm asking the kids to be on time for their class, just like I would at school. When they are logging in for Zoom, you know, I've asked them to make sure that they're using their real name, first and last name, you know, especially these first weeks of school, trying to get to know, you know, 90 something students. It's a lot, and really I need to see their names. And I like their cameras on, but I'm noticing a lot of kids are turning their cameras off. I've asked them to try to use like an actual picture of themselves again, so I can try to recognize their faces. And if they do turn off their camera, they need to let me know that they're still there. I try to definitely call on them, ask them questions, and they definitely need to let me know that they're there, or I can end up marking them absent. So just so you're aware of that as well. They're muting their microphone, you know, when they're not talking. And again, that's to cut down on distractions and reduce background noise. Because like if I have 23 or 24 kids in a class, everyone's unmuted, we would hear all kinds of noises. It would be really hard to hear the instruction that's taking place. So kids stay muted, you know, when they're not talking. And then like I tell kids in class, you know, one of the number one things is just being respectful of each other. It doesn't matter whether we're in, you know, the virtual world or in the classroom. Being respectful, that's like my number one thing. And then I've always encouraged the kids, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions and to do their best. You know, be engaged, whether it is online, you know, if that's what it has to be for now, to be as engaged as possible, just like they would if they were in the classroom. Okay, so then another question I often get, well, what are they learning about this year? Well, right now, they are in life science, so they're going to be learning about all things living. And right now, we're just going over the traits of living things, and we'll be talking about cells in more detail, DNA, genetics, and I'm hoping there'll definitely be some time to touch on ecology, and we'll be learning about the microscopes, At least we're going to be able to do that. I doubt that even if we are in school, we'd be able to use them, just with all of the safety procedures that are in place, and trying to sanitize equipment it would be very, very difficult to do, but I'm still going to teach them about the microscope. We'll be learning a lot about bacteria, viruses, and different diseases. That's one unit that we do. We also have a unit on the human body. So we'll be spending a few weeks going over the different systems of the human body. We have a short unit on plants and fungi. And then starting sometime in April through June, we study animals, especially invertebrate animals. So that takes us to the end of the school year. So basically, I tell the kids they're going to be learning about all things living this year, because this is life science. And then I'm trying to make sure I go over everything. Oh, definitely grading, the grading policy. The grading for the sciences, grades 7 through 12 is basically the same. We have the same grading policies and how we weight the different categories. So homework, classwork, any projects that I assign, that's going to make up 20% of the overall science grade. Any quizzes and tests will be 50% of the overall science grade. And then labs are definitely going to be different this year due to the COVID pandemic. If we do labs, I'm going to try to find some virtual ones that the kids can do. And I may have to include just other types of assignments as lab grades. And lab work will count as 30% of the overall science grade. Okay, and again, that is the same. It doesn't matter whether they're in 7th grade, 8th grade, all the way up to senior year. All of the science teachers are having a consistent and uniform grading policy and how we weigh the different categories or different topics. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's where I'm going to end for now. I'm going to share my one screen with you quickly. I can find it here. Up here, I already did that. I went over, I'm just trying to make sure I did my introduction, describe the course, Zoom etiquette, class expectations, and then the grading policies. The different units, I know I went through that. So unit 1, traits of life, ecology, microscope, cells, DNA, and genetics. And yeah, 5 different units that we're going to be exploring this year. And I thought I would end with our classroom pet. This is an actual picture of my rose hair tarantula. I can go through here quickly. Yeah, my rose hair tarantula I named Darwin, even though I think now it's definitely a female. I've had this tarantula for 13 years in the classroom. So the kids always ask me, well, how do you know it's a female? So because of the age. When I got the tarantula, it was fairly good size to begin with. And so I'm thinking it had to be at least a couple of years old before I got it. And I've read that the rose hair tarantula, the females, can live to be about 25 years of age, whereas the males only live for about 8 years or so. So I think it's kind of safe to say that this is probably a female. So hopefully your kids have mentioned our classroom pet. I'm hoping that they'll get to see her actually in person sometime soon. And then finally, I'd like to end with contact information. If you ever need to contact me, the best way at this point is through email. And my email address is there for you, or you can always call the school. And if I'm not teaching, in the middle of a class, you can leave a message and I will definitely get back to you. Okay, so I'm looking forward to a really good year with the kids. I know this is incredibly challenging for all of us, but I am determined to still make it a great year of learning for your kids in science class this year. Take care, everyone, and thanks for checking in. Bye-bye.